Hello students, my name is Niyati Said and thanks for watching Edipedia word videos. My topic for the presentation is the 10th section of the chapter Chemical Control and Coordination. In this section of presentation, we'll be studying about the pancreas gland. Okay, so pancreas, they maintain a body blood glucose balance. Okay, glucose means sugar. Okay, so pancreas is a glandular organ in the upper abdomen, but really it serves as two glands in one. And which are those two glands in one? First is that pancreas, it acts like a digestive exocrine gland and a hormone producing endocrine gland. Okay, so you can say that pancreas, it really serves as two glands in one. First is a digestive exocrine gland and second is hormone producing endocrine gland. Functioning as an endocrine exocrine gland, the pancreas, they excretes enzymes to break down the protein, lipid, carbohydrate and nucleic acid in food. Functioning as an endocrine gland, the pancreas, they secrete the hormone insulin and glucagon to control blood sugar level throughout the day. Both of these diverse functions, they are vital to the body's survival. Okay, so you can say that pancreas, they maintain a body's blood sugar balance, and second, primary hormone of the pancreas, they include insulin and glucagon that regulate blood glucose, because I said that these pancreas, they maintain body's blood glucose balance. Okay, diabetes is the most common disorder which is associated with the pancreas. Okay, diabetes is very common these days and it is associated with the pancreas. As I told you that pancreas, they are it serves as two gland in one, exocrine as well as endocrine. So pancreas is unique in that it's both an endocrine and exocrine gland. In other words, pancreas has the dual function of secreting hormones into the blood, and that's the reason it acts like an endocrine gland. And it also secretes enzyme through ducts, which we call it as exocrine. So both the purposes are solved with this gland, that it acts like an exocrine gland also and it acts like a endocrine gland also. Okay, that it serves two gland function in the one. Okay, so you can say that pancreas has the dual function of secreting hormones into blood, and that's the reason we call it as endocrine. And it also secretes enzyme through ducts, which we call it as exocrine. Okay, see, this is the pancreas. Okay, this is your stomach, this is your pancreas, this is your gallbladder, this is the common bile duct which comes from or which exits from the gallbladder. Okay, and this is your duodenum part, this is your pancreas. Okay, so pancreas is an elongated organ that is located between the stomach and the proximal portion of the small intestine. See, this is the duodenum part. That means from here, this is the small intestine that will start from here. So your pancreas, if we see its gross anatomy, then pancreas is narrow. It is 6-inch long gland that lies posterior and inferior to the stomach. See, this is the posterior end of the stomach. See, this is the stomach, and this is the posterior end of the stomach. This is the anterior end of the stomach. So, and this is the pancreas. So, pancreas, they are lying just inferior and to the stomach and the posterior end of the stomach. Okay. The pancreas, they extend laterally and superiorly across the abdomen from the curve of the duodenum to the spleen. The head of the pancreas, which connects to the duodenum, is the widest and the most medial region of the organ. The tail of the pancreas, it extends from the body as a narrow tapered region on the left side of the abdominal cavity near the spleen, as you can see. So, your pancreas, it contains both exocrine cells that excrete digestive enzymes and endocrine cells that release hormone. And that's the reason we call it as or we classify it as a heterocline gland, because it contains both endocrine and exocrine glandular tissue. The exocrine tissue, it makes up about 99% of the pancreas by weight, while endocrine tissue makes up other 1%. The exocrine tissue is arranged into many small masses known as acini. Acini is not seen here. You cannot see it here, but they are somewhere present here. Okay, acini. The exocrine tissue, they are arranged into many small masses known as acini. And what are acini? They are raspberry like clusters of exocrine cells that surround tiny ducts. The exocrine cells in the acini, they produce digestive enzymes that are secreted from cells and they enter the ducts. And the ducts of many acini, they connect to form larger and larger duct. Now come to the endocrine portion of the pancreas. When we come into the endocrine portion of the pancreas, because it is a heterocrine gland, that means it has both exocrine tissues as well as endocrine tissue. So exocrine we just studied. Now comes endocrine gland. Endocrine portion of the pancreas is made of a small bundle of cells known as islet of Langerhans, which I'll be teaching you in detail. Okay. Many capillaries, they run through each islet to carry hormone to the rest of the body. And there are two types of endocrine gland that make up islet of Langerhans. And which are those? Alpha cell and beta cell. Alpha cell, they produce hormone called glucagon, which raises blood glucose level. And beta cell, they produce hormone insulin, which lowers blood glucose level. Okay. So you can say that pancreatic or pancreas, they exhibit or they come in the category of heterocrine gland, because it contains both exocrine cells that secretes or excrete digestive enzymes and endocrine cells that release hormones. Okay. As an endocrine gland, as I've told you, which I have already taught you in detail. Now just see here that as an endocrine gland, the pancreas, they produce several important hormones such as insulin, such as glucagon, which are secreted into the bloodstream to regulate blood sugar level, along with other activities throughout the day. As a digestive organ, a pancreas, they secrete pancreatic juice that contains digestive enzyme, and that assist in the absorption of nutrients from that food. Food particles, they are reduced to basic elements, and that can be absorbed by intestine, and they are thus used by the body. So these digestive enzymes, they help to further break down the carbohydrate, protein and lipid in the chyme. Now let's see once again that what is pancreas. Pancreas is a flattened organ. It lies retroperitoneally and transversely across posterior abdominal wall. In my previous diagram, I have shown you that it is present inferior and the posterior end of the abdomen. Okay, and so you can say that it is present posterior to the stomach between duodenum on right and spleen on the left. Pancreas, they are classified into category of heterocrine gland because it exhibits dual character of exocrine and endocrine. Now, which are the hormones secreted by the pancreas? Then islet of Langerhans that secrete glucagon, alpha cells, which in turn increase the blood glucose level, and insulin and beta cells that decreases the blood sugar level or the blood glucose level. Pancreas also secrete growth hormone inhibiting hormone, that is GHIH, growth hormone inhibiting hormone. And delta cells, what do GHIH and delta cell do? It inhibits glucagon and insulin. Okay, see, this is the pancreas and this is the zoom view of the pancreas. It is the duct. These are the digestive enzyme that secretes the these are the digestive enzyme secreting cells, and these are the islet of Langerhans. These are the blood capillaries, and this, what is this? This is the hormone secreting islet cells. Okay, the part of the pancreas with endocrine function is made up of approximately 1,000,000 cell clusters called as islet of Langerhans, which I have taught you. 4 main cell types, they exist in islet of Langerhans, and which are those? Alpha cell, beta cell, delta cell and PP cell. Okay, so these are the 4 main cell types that exist in the islet of Langerhans. They are relatively difficult to distinguish using standard staining techniques, but they can be classified by their secretions. That means these 4 type of cells, they are classified on the basis of their secretions. Alpha cells secrete glucagon, which increases blood glucose level, and beta cells, they secrete insulin that decrease glucose in blood, and then delta cell that secretes somatostatin that regulates and stops alpha and beta cells. That means, what does this delta cell do? It regulates alpha and beta cell, or it stops alpha and beta cell secretion. Okay, and the fourth cell is known as PP cell. PP cell or gamma cell. It secretes pancreatic polypeptide. What is polypeptide? Poly means many and peptide means peptide is a bond between 2 monomer units of amino acid. Amino acids, they are the building blocks of protein. Okay, so I hope it is clear to all of you now that there are 4 main types of cells that exist in the islet of Langerhans. Okay, so these are the hormones that of the pancreas that exist: alpha, beta, and delta. Okay, we have skipped here pp cells. Okay, so there are three cells that exist in pancreas. First is your alpha cell that produce hormone glucagon, which raises blood glucose level, or glucose synthesis and glycogen breakdown in liver. It increases blood glucose concentration. And then comes your beta cells. Beta cells are is the one that produces insulin, that helps in the stimulation of lipid and glycogen storage and formation. Beta cell, it also decreases blood glucose concentration. And then comes your last cell, that is your delta cell, that produces a hormone somatostatin that inhibits secretion of insulin and glucagon. That means in turn it regulates the synthesis of beta and alpha cell. Okay, so I hope now hormones of the pancreas is clear to all of you and their effect. Okay, now comes your glucagon. Glucagon is a peptide hormone, students. Okay, it plays an important role in maintaining blood glucose level. It stimulates glycogenolysis. Lysis means breakdown. What does this lysis means? Breakdown. Okay, so it stimulates glycogenolysis and it increases a blood glucose level, which is known as hyperglycemia. Increased blood glucose level means hyperglycemia. So you can say, students, that glucagon is a hyperglycemic hormone. Okay. Now comes insulin. Insulin is also a peptide hormone, just like your glucagon. Okay, it enhances cellular glucose uptake and utilization. So there is a rapid movement of glucose from blood to hepatocytes. What does hepatocytes means? Cells of liver. Hepato means liver and cytes means cell. So there is a rapid movement of glucose from blood to hepatocytes and adipocytes. Cells of fat is known as adipocytes. That results in decreased blood glucose level, because insulin, it decreases the blood glucose level. Okay. Insulin, it also stimulates the conversion of glucose to glycogen. That means insulin has the capability to convert glucose into glycogen. Glycogen is a reserve stock of glucose. Okay. So it is a hypoglycemic hormone. Okay. It is a hypoglycemic hormone. Unlike glucagon. What was glucagon? Glucagon was hyperglycemic hormone. Now, if deficiency of insulin takes place, then insulin deficiency leads to diabetes mellitus. Okay. Now, hormones of the pancreas. The production of pancreatic hormones, including insulin, somatostatin, gastrin, and glucagon, they play an important role in maintaining sugar and the salt balance in our bodies. There are four primary hormones which are secreted by pancreas. First is glucagon, insulin, somatostatin, and vasoactive intestinal peptide. First is glucagon. Glucagon, it helps insulin maintain normal blood glucose by working in the opposite way of insulin. That means glucagon and insulin, they work, or you can say that they work in opposite manner. Glucagon, it helps insulin maintain normal blood glucose by working in the opposite way of insulin. It stimulates your cells to release glucose, and this raises your blood glucose level. That means glucagon, it increases the blood sugar level, whereas insulin, it decreases the blood sugar level in the human body, because it works in just in the opposite manner uh, to that of glucagon. Insulin is a hormone that regulates blood glucose by allowing many of your body cells to absorb and use glucose. In turn, this drops blood glucose level. Now the third hormone is somatostatin. When level of other pancreatic hormones such as insulin and glucagon get too high, somatostatin is secreted to maintain a balance of glucose and salt in the blood. That means this somatostatin, it regulates the synthesis of insulin and glucagon. Now comes your fourth hormone, which is known as vasoactive intestinal peptide. This hormone, it helps control water secretions and absorption from the intestine by stimulating the intestinal cells to release water and salts into the intestine. That's why its name is vasoactive intestinal peptide. Vasoactive means vessels that are active, and intestinal because they release water and salt into the intestine. So this hormone, it helps control water secretion and absorption from the intestine by stimulating the intestinal cells to release water and salts into the intestine. Okay. Now, of all the diseases and disorders of the pancreas, the most well known is diabetes. And diabetes are of two types, type 1 and type 2. If you have type 1 diabetes, then your body doesn't produce any insulin to handle the glucose in your body. Insulin deficiency, it causes a range of complications. So people with the type 1 diabetes have to take insulin to help their body use glucose appropriately. And type 2 diabetes is much more prevalent than type 1. People with type 2 diabetes may be able to produce insulin, but their bodies don't use it correctly. That means a person with the type 2 diabetes is able to produce insulin, but his body cannot use insulin in a proper way. They might also be unable to produce enough insulin to handle the glucose in their body. Because what does insulin do? Insulin, it lower down the glucose level in the body. Lifestyle choices such as diet and exercise, they play a major role in managing and preventing type 2 diabetes. See, this is the normal functioning of the pancreas. This is a type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Diabetes is a disorder of pancreas. So first we'll see the normal functioning of the pancreas. See, this is the pancreas. It produces insulin. And this is the glucose uptake, or you can say that this is a cell which has certain insulin receptor cells, and it also has a glucose channel. So when pancreas, they secrete insulin, it goes and bind with the insulin receptor, which helps in the glucose intake by the cell. This is the proper functioning of pancreas. But what happens in the type 1 diabetes? When destruction of beta cells takes place, that means no more insulin is synthesized, and therefore insulin will not go and bind with the insulin receptor, and then this glucose channel will not be open, and hence glucose uptake will not be taken up by the cells. Okay. And now what happens in the type 2 diabetes? In this, reduced insulin production takes place. That means unlike type 1, uh, reduced insulin production takes place. So it doesn't go and bind with the receptor because insulin resistance has taken place, and thus this cell will not be able to uptake glucose into it. Okay, so this is the type 2 diabetes and this is the type 1 diabetes. I hope it is clear to all of you now. Now, other common diseases and disorders which are associated with pancreas are hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia. What is hyperglycemia, students? This is the condition which is caused by abnormally high blood glucose level. That means when the blood glucose level has reached abnormally high level in the human body, then hyperglycemia takes place. Hyperglycemia is a disorder. It can be caused by overproduction of the hormone glucagon. So hyperglycemia is a disorder which is associated with the overproduction of the hormone glucagon, which is secreted by alpha cells of pancreas. And then comes your hypoglycemia. Conversely, hypoglycemia is caused by low blood glucose level, and it is caused by the relative overproduction of insulin. So this hypoglycemia, it is a disorder which is associated with the overproduction of insulin hormone, which is secreted by the beta cells of pancreas. Okay, and hypoglycemia, on the contrary to the hyperglycemia, is caused by low blood glucose level, whereas hyperglycemia, it is caused by abnormally high blood glucose level, and it is caused by overproduction of hormone glucagon, whereas in hypoglycemia it is caused by relative overproduction of insulin. So these are the common diseases and the disorders which are associated with the pancreas. Okay. So this was all about the pancreas gland. In my next section of the presentation, we'll be studying about the testis. Okay, so till then, stay tuned and keep watching Edupedia Word videos.